The ballroom at the Crestview estate was a cathedral of wealth. Chandeliers dripping crystal light, tables set with gold-trimmed china, the faint sound of a string quartet rehearsing in the background. At the center of it all stood Vivian Hart, a renowned wedding planner whose brand was built on perfection and control. Vivian flipped through her clipboard, frowning slightly. "I still need final confirmation for the photographer," she said briskly to her assistant, Megan. "We have several offers," Megan replied, "but the groom's family personally requested a photographer named Eli Bennett." Vivian glanced up. "Bennett? I don't recognize the name. Is he with a luxury studio?" "No," Megan said, hesitating. "He runs an independent business. His portfolio's different, more candid, documentary style." Vivian sighed, unimpressed. "Let me see." Megan pulled up Eli's online portfolio on her tablet. The photos filled the screen. Breathtaking shots of real people, laughing, crying, living. No staged glamour, no artificial poses. Every image pulsed with authenticity. Vivian scrolled for a moment, expression tightening. "They're fine, but not what I'd call elevated. We're not doing a street-style wedding. This is a six-figure event." "He's very respected," Megan added carefully. "He's even done celebrity portraits," Vivian interrupted. "Name one." Megan hesitated. "Well, I don't think he advertises his clients publicly." Vivian smiled thinly. "Exactly. I prefer someone with discretion and credentials." "But Vivian," Megan said, lowering her voice, "the groom's family specifically mentioned him. They said Eli's important to them." Vivian's tone cooled. "Important or not, my brand has standards. This is not a backyard photo shoot. Find someone else." Later that afternoon, as Vivian oversaw the floral arrangements, a car pulled up to the estate. Out stepped Eli Bennett, camera bag over his shoulder, wearing a simple black shirt, jeans, and a calm, confident smile. He walked up to the coordinator's table. "Hi, I'm Eli Bennett. Hear about the photography?" Vivian barely looked up from her clipboard. "Oh, right, yes, about that." She eyed him from head to toe, her professional smile tightening. "I appreciate you coming, but we've already secured someone else. I'm sure you're very talented, but this wedding has a certain aesthetic." Eli tilted his head slightly. "Aesthetic?" "Yes," she said smoothly. "Our clients expect a very polished luxury look. It's not really a fit for your style." He raised an eyebrow. "My style?" Vivian nodded curtly. "Exactly." Eli stood still for a moment, studying her face. Then he smiled faintly, not angry, just quietly disappointed. "I understand. Thank you for your time." He turned and walked away, leaving her feeling oddly unsettled. That evening, Vivian met with the bride, Lily, and the groom, Daniel. "I've confirmed all vendors," Vivian said proudly, "including a replacement photographer. You'll love them. Very modern, very high-end." Daniel frowned. "Wait, what about Eli Bennett? He's family." Vivian blinked. "Family?" "Yes," Daniel said, confused. "Eli's my brother." The words hit her like a slap. "Your brother?" she repeated weakly. "Yeah," Daniel said, smiling. "He's flying in this week. He's one of the best photographers in the country. His work's been featured in Time and National Geographic." Vivian's throat went dry. Lily looked at her, puzzled. "You told us you'd already spoken to him?" Vivian forced a laugh. "Oh, I must have misunderstood. I'll reach out right away to confirm his details." But her mind was spinning. She hadn't just turned away a client. She'd humiliated the groom's own brother, and worse, a man far more successful than she'd ever assumed. As the couple continued chatting excitedly about the wedding, Vivian sat frozen in her chair, her stomach twisting. For the first time in her career, her polished confidence began to crack. 2 days later, the Crestview estate buzzed with the rhythm of a perfect wedding rehearsal. Servers gliding between tables, the florist adjusting centerpieces, the string quartet tuning quietly in the corner. Everything looked flawless on the surface. But inside, Vivian Hart was falling apart. She hadn't slept properly since her meeting with the couple. Every time she thought about Daniel Bennett's casual words, "He's my brother," her stomach twisted. How could she have known? More importantly, how could she undo it? She had built her entire brand on reputation. One wrong interaction with the wrong person and she could lose everything: clients, sponsors, partnerships. And Eli Bennett wasn't just the groom's brother. He was a name that mattered. Since that meeting, Vivian had Googled him, and what she found made her blood run cold. His photographs weren't just good, they were extraordinary. His work hung in galleries, graced magazine covers, and captured humanitarian stories around the world. He'd photographed world leaders, artists, and protests, every shot raw and human. Worse, social media loved him. His posts went viral, his followers numbered in the millions. And she, Vivian Hart, the city's most in-demand luxury planner, had looked him in the eye and told him he wasn't the right fit. By the time the rehearsal dinner began that evening, Vivian had plastered her best professional smile back in place. She moved through the ballroom like a general, giving crisp instructions, straightening linens that didn't need straightening. Then the air shifted. She heard laughter near the entrance, the kind that makes heads turn. Eli Bennett had arrived. He wore a dark tailored jacket, simple but elegant. His camera hung casually from one shoulder. And though his presence was calm, he carried himself with quiet gravity, the kind that drew attention without trying. Vivian's heart thudded. Lily, the bride, ran to greet him, hugging him warmly. Daniel clapped his brother on the back. "You made it, man. Everyone's been dying to meet you." Vivian tried to shrink into the background, pretending to check a seating chart. But then, Lily spotted her. "Vivian, you haven't officially met Eli yet, have you?" Every muscle in Vivian's face tightened into a polite smile. She turned, hands clasped neatly in front of her. "Of course," she said smoothly. "Mr. Bennett and I spoke briefly before, didn't we?" Eli's gaze met hers, calm, direct, and unreadable. "Yes," he said evenly. "We did. You made quite an impression." Her cheeks burned. I'm thrilled we'll be working together after all." He gave a small, knowing smile. "That's funny. I got the impression you preferred someone more polished." The air between them went still. Several nearby guests glanced over, sensing tension. Vivian forced a laugh, her voice tight. "Oh, that was just a miscommunication. Happens all the time in this business." Eli tilted his head slightly. "Does it?" Before she could respond, Daniel cut in, oblivious to the subtext. "Viv, Eli's doing us a huge favor. He cleared his whole schedule just to photograph the wedding. Can you believe that?" Vivian nodded, voice thin. "That's very generous." Eli's eyes softened, not cruelly, but knowingly. "I'm just happy to capture something that actually matters," he said. "Real love doesn't need staging." And with that, he walked away, camera swinging at his side, leaving Vivian standing frozen among the laughter and music, her carefully curated image cracking with every passing second. Later that evening, she found herself watching him work. He moved quietly through the rehearsal, capturing details she never would have noticed. The nervous laughter of the bride's father, the flower girl twirling in her dress, the sunlight catching the champagne glasses. No instructions, no perfection, just truth. And when she saw Daniel and Lily reviewing one of his shots on the camera screen, tears in their eyes, she realized something that made her throat tighten. He was everything she'd pretended to be. That night, back in her office, Vivian poured herself a glass of wine and stared at the stack of contracts on her desk. Her reflection looked tired, smaller. For the first time, she questioned if she'd built her empire on the right things, or if she'd spent her career chasing a kind of perfection that didn't actually exist. Her phone buzzed. A message from Megan, her assistant. "Megan, he's amazing, Viv. The family adores him. People are talking about his work already. He might post something about the wedding. Do you want me to tag your account?" Vivian stared at the message for a long moment. Then she typed back slowly. "Vivian, not yet." Because deep down, she knew. When Eli Bennett spoke, the whole world listened, and she wasn't sure what he might say about her. By the next morning, the estate had transformed again. The rehearsal chaos replaced by calm anticipation. The wedding was just hours away, and Vivian Hart moved through the halls like a commander about to face battle. Her clipboard was flawless, her dress immaculate, her smile carefully engineered. But inside, she was unraveling. Everywhere she turned, someone was talking about Eli Bennett. He had become the quiet center of the wedding, not because he sought attention, but because everything he did drew it. When he lifted his camera, guests softened. When he spoke, people listened. Even the venue staff seemed to orbit around him, eager to help, to be near his calm authority. And then, somewhere between floral deliveries and final touches, the whispers began. "Did you hear?" one of the florists murmured to the caterer. The planner tried to replace the groom's brother, the famous photographer, before she knew who he was. The caterer's eyes widened. No way. Her? Vivian Hart? "That's what I heard," the florist whispered, glancing over her shoulder. Told him his work wasn't luxury enough. The story spread like wildfire, from staff to guests to vendors. And every retelling made it a little more brutal, a little more humiliating. By the time the string quartet began its warm-up, everyone knew. Vivian noticed it instantly. The subtle shift in how people looked at her. The polite smiles that didn't reach their eyes. The hushed laughter that seemed to pause when she walked by. Her assistant, Megan, trailed behind her nervously. "Viv, I think people are—" "I know." Vivian cut in sharply, adjusting a centerpiece that was already perfect. "Rumors spread. They'll fade. Except this one's true," Megan said quietly. Vivian froze, her hand still on the vase. "Excuse me?" Megan hesitated, then sighed. "You did dismiss him. You told him he wasn't a fit. And now everyone's seen who he really is, and how kind he's been despite it." Vivian turned, her eyes sharp. "He's manipulating the situation." "By taking beautiful photos and being respectful?" Megan asked softly. "He hasn't said a single bad word about you." That truth hit harder than any insult could. Because Vivian knew, if Eli had wanted revenge, he could have destroyed her with a single social media post. One photo, one caption, and her business would crumble overnight. But he didn't. He was just silent. And somehow, that silence was louder than all her years of reputation. Later that day, as the rehearsal brunch began, Vivian found herself alone at the bar, adjusting her notes for the 100th time. Eli walked in, camera slung casually across his chest, scanning the room with a warm smile. Guests waved. A bridesmaid posed playfully for a picture. He laughed and took the shot. Then he noticed Vivian watching him from across the room. He walked over, calm, steady, unreadable as always. "Busy day?" he asked. Vivian straightened. "Always is." He nodded. "I can imagine." There was a beat of silence. Then he said softly, "I heard there's been talk." Her chest tightened. Rumors spread easily in events like this. He studied her for a moment, then said, "Relax. I didn't say anything." She blinked. "You didn't?" He shook his head. "No need. People see what they want to see." Her mouth went dry. "You could have ruined me." Eli shrugged lightly. "That's not my style." Vivian frowned, confused. "Why not?" He looked out the window toward the garden, where Daniel and Lily were laughing together under the canopy of lights. "Because this day's about them, not you, not me. I'm not here to expose anyone. I'm here to capture love." His tone was gentle, but it cut deep. Vivian lowered her gaze, her throat tight. "You're a better person than I deserve." Eli smiled faintly. "No, just someone who's learned that grace speaks louder than anger." He adjusted his camera strap and walked away, leaving her standing there, shaken, small, and suddenly aware of how hollow her version of perfection really was. By sunset, the rumor had turned into legend. The story of the arrogant planner and the famous brother spread through whispers, laughter, and knowing smiles. But every retelling made Eli sound even more graceful, and Vivian, smaller still. And as the golden light poured through the ballroom windows, she realized something painful, yet freeing. Control had always been her armor, and now, stripped of it, she was seeing herself, for the first time. The morning of the wedding dawned with soft light spilling across the Crestview estate, mist rising from the vineyards beyond the hill. It was the kind of day planners dreamed about. Flawless weather, perfect timing, the calm before the ceremony. But for Vivian Hart, the calm felt like suffocation. Every checklist was complete, every ribbon tied. And yet, she couldn't breathe. Everywhere she turned, she caught glimpses of Eli Bennett, laughing with the groomsmen, capturing the flower girl's giggles, helping the bride's grandmother fix her corsage. He was the quiet heartbeat of the day, invisible yet everywhere. Even the way guests looked at him made something twist inside her. Admiration, warmth, respect. It was the same attention she'd spent her entire career chasing, except he earned it without even trying. When the ceremony began, Vivian stood near the edge of the garden, clipboard clutched tight, watching everything unfold in flawless synchronization. The bride, Lily, floated down the aisle beneath an arch of white roses. The music swelled, guests rose, cameras clicked. But the only lens that mattered was Eli's. He moved like a shadow, silent, graceful, always in the right place at the right moment. Every flash of his camera caught truth. The groom's trembling hands, the mother's proud tears, the small smile between siblings who shared more than words ever could. Vivian couldn't help but watch him work. It wasn't just photography. It was connection. When Daniel and Lily exchanged vows, Eli's eyes misted too. He didn't hide it. And somehow, that vulnerability made the moment feel even more real. As the guests moved toward the reception tent, Vivian checked her earpiece, issuing soft commands to her staff. Everything was perfect. But when she turned around, Eli was standing behind her. "You planned a beautiful day," he said quietly. She hesitated, caught off guard. "Thank you. I do my best." He nodded, then gestured toward the dance floor. "You ever stop to enjoy it?" She blinked. "Enjoy what?" "The moment," he said. "You spent your life creating them for other people, but when's the last time you actually lived one?" Vivian froze, clipboard pressed to her chest. She wanted to say something, and something clever, something dismissive. But nothing came. For the first time in years, she didn't have a script. Eli smiled softly. "You don't have to answer. I just hope someday you do." Then he turned, raising his camera as the newlyweds began their first dance. Vivian stood watching as he knelt to catch the reflection of candlelight in Lily's veil, a single perfect frame that seemed to freeze time. And in that moment, she understood why his work resonated so deeply. It wasn't about angles, lighting, or money. It was about feeling. Something she had spent her career editing out. Half an hour later, when Daniel took the microphone for his toast, he gestured toward his brother. "I just want to thank someone who's been my hero long before today," he said. "Not my brother Eli. He's taught me that success isn't about being seen. It's about what you give to others." Applause filled the tent. Eli looked humbled, embarrassed even, but smiled warmly. And then, to Vivian's shock, Daniel added, "And thank you to our planner, Vivian Hart, for putting this day together with such grace. We couldn't have done it without you." The crowd clapped again. Eli looked over at her, not with resentment, but respect. It broke her. She felt something inside her crack, quietly like glass under strain. Tears blurred her vision, but she smiled anyway and nodded politely. For the first time in her career, she wasn't proud. She was grateful. Grateful for the lesson. Grateful for the chance to grow. Later that night, when the lights dimmed and the music softened, Vivian walked past the photo display Eli had set up, a live feed of shots projected onto a screen. One photo stopped her cold. It was of her, taken without her knowing. She was standing at the edge of the dance floor, clipboard in hand, a small, unguarded smile on her face, as she watched the couple dance. Below the image was Eli's caption, "Perfection isn't control. It's care." Her throat tightened. For the first time, she didn't see the rigid planner or the woman afraid of imperfection. She saw someone trying, maybe too hard, but still trying. And for the first time in years, she let herself cry.